I don't want the city to change the wonderful positive traits that we have, and I don't want us to be a swaggering Billy Big Bollocks.
Yeah.
But I would like us to think that perhaps we owe our city a favour to not give it a kicking at every possible turn, because how can we expect other people to do the same if, you know, there's a percentage of us that won't give it a chance?
Yeah, ready?
We started.
We are started, mate.
Woo!
We've made it a whole year, mate.
I know, yeah. No breaks, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Feels
Pretty
like
much
it.
non-stop.
We've been having so much fun, we just carried on.
You know what, they just keep rolling in the podcasts. Like, even now, we're taking a break now, people. So bear in mind, you're not really going to hear anything until probably end of January, February time now.
Yeah.
But it's just been, even now, we've got people like, can you do this? Can you do this one? Can we come on here? I'm
Squeeze this one in, and we're like,
yeah,
no.
like, oh man. Like,
So anyways, this is Breaking Bread.
yeah, obviously. You click the link.
you clicked on our faces, unless you stumbled across us.
Yeah.
I'm Liam.
I'm Carl.
That's
I don't know why I said it like
my
that.
co-host Carl.
So I was half yawning at the time. Carl.
How you doing, man? Feeling festive?
Yeah, man, feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Christmas time. We're looking good.
It's hard because I broke up yesterday from my proper job.
Such a wanker.
Carl said we're taking a little break, so if you do miss us, we've got loads of episodes. We've got like 100 episodes now.
Yeah, you've definitely not listened to all of them, so just
No way.
go through the back
But don't
catalogue.
go too far back because we were just learning stuff at the beginning.
Yeah. Don't go right to the beginning.
But, you know,
there are some good ones at the
Yeah,
beginning.
there is
to
some
be
good
fair.
ones, some crackers. We've got obviously 2 MasterChef champions.
Yeah,
Brummy
man,
MasterChef
Jesus.
champions.
We've got Michelin star chefs. We've
just
got
actor
people that have worked
and-
all over. We've got some of the best like little producers and people doing amazing
Yeah.
things. I always push the
Punks and Chances.
and the King's Heath and Bearwood Action for Refugees.
Yeah, that's-
They've got a thing on for Christmas where you can order stuff directly off Amazon. It goes straight to them, and it ranges from like stuff that's a couple of £1 all the way up to like £15.
Oh, that's a nice thing
You
to
can
do.
definitely do that. They still sell the cookbook, I think.
Yeah, them are
So
good.
like check them out and go and do something nice for them because they're fantastic people, and the podcast we did with them was really good as well.
Yeah, so you don't have to miss us. Go back and have a listen, and we'll be back with loads of episodes. End of Jan.
Yeah, end of Jan, February time. We're saying
Yeah.
it's like it should be.
It should be.
We should be because we've got some
We
planned
have
in.
to be because we've got loads. We've got loads ready to
We've
record.
got people planned in for then, so yeah, that first week of January, February's going to be tough.
It's been a cracking year, man. You think back to some of the guests we've done this year and that, like, you know,
Yeah, it's been crazy.
it's really kind of felt like it's, I know it's the first year without COVID, but it's felt like it's taken off this year a bit, hasn't it, like?
Well, you've got them Spotify results that we talk about that in this podcast. It
More
comes
and more
up
listeners
just-
all the time, more and more followers, and we love that.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Like, I can't believe it most of the time. I look at some of the stats and I'm just like, whoa. Like, it's a bit daunting. Only a little bit daunting, but still.
Ah, it's good. It's good. We've managed to get out and about a bit despite the cold.
Yeah, we've done well, especially last week.
Yeah. Start with, I think we can't do this episode without talking about Trippier first.
Yeah, we went last week. First time, and I was so mad it was our first time because I was so
You could get people recommending stuff to us
amazing.
all the time, and then they rave about stuff, and you're like, yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
get there. Let me have a look, see what it's about.
You see that many people going on about it, you're like, well, all right, I know it's good.
Respected
Like, it's
people
gotta
as
be
well.
people of opinion.
Joe.
If they say it's good, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Joe
yeah.
from Relationship told us to go there for the last year, I'd say.
Just everyone says, oh, have you been to so-and-so yet? Or if you say, oh, I haven't been there, they're like, what?
Yeah,
you need to
yeah,
go
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then you go there and it's just phenomenal.
Everything about it, the food and the experience and the atmosphere and the service, just probably
Yeah,
the
the
best
people in
service
the,
I've had.
yeah, some of the friendliest, nicest service I've had. The food was phenomenal. The place is nice inside. The drinks are great. I had a wicked martini, grappa, shots, limoncello, coffee. Like, I drank if they sold it, I drank it, basically.
It was like going to Italy and going to like somebody's house, or a really nice chef's house. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
it was a nice vibe, and mate, the food.
Yeah, I like that as well. Because often, you know, I'm conflicted when I go to like a standard Italian neighbourhood just place.
Yeah.
Because your main's either pasta or steak.
Yeah.
But Trapay, it's like, no. You have your pasta first, then you'll have your steak after.
Well, that's how they
Like,
do it in
yes.
Italy, don't they?
Yeah,
They start off
yeah.
with the antipasta, then they have pasta, then they have their main. and then they have
Unsurprisingly,
pudding.
in England, we've just been doing it wrong.
But I like the antipasta starter. Then you move on to like half portion of pasta or full portion, depending on how
I like the
busy
style
you
of the
are.
antipasta. Like, you just have a few plates in front of you, you do a bit of talking, you're just digging into a bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. It's
That's
nice.
it. It was
isn't
really
like?
social eating vibe, isn't it? It's you're all sharing. It's nice.
I loved it when it said, you're ordering 2 octopus, you wouldn't want to share just one. Me and Carl looked at each other like, I'm sharing octopus.
Yeah, first thing I said,
One
I,
each, thank you.
I don't share octopus, man. I was like, I'll share. You put 2 legs on there.
Yeah, so definitely, if you haven't been there, you don't need us to tell you. Everyone's talking about it, and rightly so. It was included in the Michelin Guide.
Yeah, completely see why.
Rightly so. I mean,
Amazing.
if it doesn't win a bib command, I will just give up hope of ever winning a bib command in Birmingham.
Yeah. A new bar in Kong's in Sturchley. Another new bar, as if it
You've
needed
seen the
any more.
shutters, you've seen the shop, you've walked past and says, wow, that looks cool. I wonder what that is. And nobody's known until now.
Yeah, I was so happy it ended up in a bar. I was like, yes, bar.
It's the kind of place where you're thinking, please be a bar, and then it's a hairdresser's or something.
Yeah. But currently there's a residency there from Beaufort, I think it is.
Beaufort, yeah.
With gin, and they do a nice rum as well. And they're there slinging cocktails out to people. Like, we went the other night and it was phenomenal. Like, the drinks were brilliant, the vibe in there is good. It's like, it's a tiny little bar. It's cool as shit in there, isn't it?
Yeah, they've done a good job considering it was a shell like a week before we managed to get in.
Yeah, and we went, it was really good, cracking atmosphere. Like, Sturchley's got so much going on at the moment,
Yeah.
especially with Ikagi opening up there as well.
Leo's a nice guy as well. The guy who makes the gin and the rum. We're hoping to do a podcast with him for the new
Yeah,
year.
he'll be one of them, yeah.
Yeah, just great story, isn't he? Like, so don't want to give too much away right now.
Nice. Yeah, but it's opposite Larry's.
Yeah,
We had to go to Larry's.
we
man.
wanted to get to Larry's for a while. Larry's looks like the fun pizza joint that you want to go to when you're a kid.
What did you describe it as? Like a little New York vibes look like.
Yeah, it did feel
Pizza
like
place.
somewhere you'd go in New York at 3 a.m. You'd get the owner, who's quite loud and very funny, very friendly, but not too friendly, you know. And that's Dom.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Dom's like the king
What
of
an
Sturchley,
owner.
isn't he? Like,
Just
You'd love that we
work
call
in
him
the
that.
room. Just fantastic. A
Yeah.
great owner, great place. And then you get on to the food, and the pizzas were great.
yeah, all open plan. So it's like you're part of the kitchen. It's
Yeah.
brilliant though, great fun.
Yeah, try out Larry's, man. It's great.
Obviously went with Tom, the legend.
And yeah, that's who this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
And we've been wanting to do this one for ages. And we've known Tom for a while as well. Like, he's been really helpful to us in regards to the podcast and advice and stuff like this.
I'm not sure if I'd said it in the podcast, but I think we first met him on the press trip to Dishoom about 2020, just before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
And,
so.
and the first time I met him, I was like, we need you to come on the podcast. And he was like, why? I was like, because we just need to talk about Brum in a positive way. And no one does a better job of bringing up Brum than Tom.
Yeah, he's amazing at it, isn't he?
He's all in. This week on Twitter, the war against Manchester, that's cracked me up. That has. I don't know if
That's
you
funny.
caught that.
That
He's-
is funny.
He's so good. He's so intelligent, and his writing is just ridiculous, isn't it? Like you
Yeah.
can't read his email without hearing his voice,
No, I genuinely look forward to it.
Hmm.
Like every week.
and it must be the only email I really look forward to. Like I don't open anything else.
No, I don't get many emails that I'm that bothered about, to be honest.
Yeah. Just a real champion of Birmingham.
I often prefer the episodes where we already know the person quite well.
See, I don't.
See, I do, because I,
I
feel
feel
like
like-
you can ask that little bit more personal of a question.
Maybe, but then you also assume that people know him
Yeah.
because we know him. So it's like,
Yeah, you think, I won't ask how he started, because I
we
know
have
how he
inside
started.
jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But either way, he does this. But he's a professional man. Like he should have been. Well, he does
No, he
try and
interviewed
interview
us
us.
at the end, like, turn the tables on us. So if you want to know more about me and Liam, you're going to find out in this episode.
You're gonna love this episode. It's just a great episode where we champion Brum. It's not often you're gonna sit down and listen to an hour of people talking positively about Birmingham,
Yeah.
and it deserves that.
All positive.
Yeah. So enjoy this episode, everyone. I hate to date episodes by saying Happy Christmas, but
I know,
Happy Christmas,
happy
everyone.
Christmas, everybody.
Hope you all have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Cullen. I choose Birmingham.
exactly what we think a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So obviously we're asking what people think rather than telling them.
You just assume nobody wants to hear about us, just the guests.
Well, that's what I think.
Yeah, you know, every guest says that though. Every guest is like, oh, I don't think people...
I think that's a very Brummy thing.
Yeah.
You know, that, not self-deprecation, but the...
You don't want to
almost...
stutter when you say that.
I know, I was just going to say, I was like, I'm not even going to attempt to say that. I think it'll come out gobbledygook when I was
What
there.
now?
So
is it
we
melting?
Is this started?
Yeah,
I
I've just started rolling.
Yeah,
so-
it's double straight.
Well, thanks for having me over, chaps.
No, thanks for coming, Tom. I choose
In the
Birmingham.
Costa del Solihull, right?
Costa del
That's
Sol.
it, living the dream.
Absolutely.
Don't tell everyone we don't live in Birmingham.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you a bit about the relationship between Brum and Solihull, and you know how
It's a
you
weird
feel
one, eh?
that sort of brother-sister relationship is.
Well, we both lived in Birmingham.
Yeah,
We both went to school in Solihull.
I don't know if I should
secondary
out Carl, but Carl grew up in Solihull.
school. Shirley, yeah. Well, I was born in Yardley Wood, then moved to Shirley. Not Yardley Wood, Yardley. Then moved to Shirley.
What's the difference? Are they?
Oh, they're
miles
they're-
apart,
they're
right?
miles apart, yeah.
Right. So even you make the mistake, despite living there.
Yeah, despite it.
Right.
And then I moved to Shirley, and then grew up here. And then I moved to Hall Green, and then moved back when we had our kid to Shirley because the schools were a lot better. This
Some
side.
people get snobbish about it, though, don't they?
They can. But you know what
Still
people do in their
Hillians
life.
get.
Yeah.
that's
I don't
right.
think many
It's
Brummies.
almost like they've got that Andy Murray British thing. Like, you know, the English say he's British when they want him to be British and Scottish
Yeah.
when they want him to be Scottish. Solihull wants to be part of Birmingham for Commonwealth Games or for Eurovision, but when it suits them on, I don't know, voting trends or whatever it might be, it's something completely
Well, I
different.
think
Is
you
that
can
fair
always
to
tell
say?
the difference. Yeah, you can tell the difference because the person that is very Solihull won't say Solihull, they say Solihull.
Ah, right.
So if you find someone that says Solihull, then they're proper like, no, we're not Birmingham.
Well, the Costa
someone
del
says
Sol
Solihull-
doesn't work.
But if someone says Solihull, there's a good chance they probably lump themselves in with Brummies.
I just annoy everyone in class all of the West Midlands as great of Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I just offend everyone.
So
I
it's
don't
got a B
care.
postcode. You're gonna have to get over it.
Right.
No, but even Warsaw's definitely part of Birmingham. I don't care. It's got W. Keep your W post. It's still Birmingham.
Yeah, well, I often get it.
Because
in the
Manchester do it, don't they?
Yeah,
the
this-
Greater Manchester,
Greater
thing.
Manchester
Yeah.
gets everywhere, don't it?
Well, the whole
Wigan,
Black Country
Bury.
thing, right? I constantly on Twitter am being told it's not Birmingham, it's the Black Country. And I do get it, but ultimately I don't really care.
Nah.
Because I think we should be, you know, amassing as one.
I think you can be
As much
too-
as we can.
Yeah, I think you'd be too. It's easy to get too hung up on borders and you're not there because you're there and you're not this
Yeah.
because you're that. Like, just it doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day, does it?
Surely not, surely. But anyway,
Anyhow,
thanks for having me.
You're
all
welcome.
good. How you been?
Good, thank you. Good. Yeah, I mean, like, 2022 in business terms has been significantly better than I think anyone thought it would be. And I
Yeah.
think the presumption is that 2023 is going to be a train wreck. But good, thank you. Really
It's
good.
weird. Remember this time last year, and we were like scared to see anyone in case you got isolated over Christmas.
Do you ever think about it and think, I mean, that is just like a weird dream.
Yeah. It's like when I was on the 12 pubs on Saturday, I was thinking this didn't happen last year because we were all terrified of having to isolate over Christmas.
Yeah, so for the listeners, Liam did a 12 pub challenge. How many? Liam doesn't drink. but
Yeah, I didn't
How many did the crew manage?
I think they got up to about 10, but I bailed at 8 because you're meant to just have 1 pint in each pub, but then they got cosy in some and ended up having 2. Schooners ended up having 2. And most of the good ones, they had about 2 or 3.
That's what happens when I'm not there.
Yeah,
I
you need
was
someone...
one of the original people that set up the whole concept because we've been going for years as a
Yeah.
concept. It started as a Henley day.
Yeah.
We'd get the train to Henley, start at one end and just go straight to the other, drinking in each one, and obviously
we
go back
moved
to the 3 tons and then finish in there and have
Yeah.
as many
Moved
as
it
we
to
can in there.
Digbeth.
Yeah, and at the risk of asking all the questions, I've like 2.5 weeks into a bit of a sobriety session. As a non-drinker, what lessons have you learnt from not drinking when people are doing a 12 pub challenge? You know, bail early seems to be one of them. But
Yeah, get out when when it's time to go. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
It's a weird experience because it feels good. But do you know when you're drinking and you're part of the group, you're in a bubble and you only see your group of friends and
Yeah.
you're acting the same as them. But when you're sober, you see the barman, you see the couple having a nice meal over there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you can feel the cringe, like, and you're like, when you start just being generally sloppy, you know, when you've had a few beers, and you don't really notice when you're drinking, but then when you're sober, you do. But it's still harmless, like. But
Of course.
you're kind of a bit more alert all the time as well, especially if you're with people you care about. You're like, I don't want them to hurt anyone else, but I don't want them to get, you know, it's a weird experience, but you get used to it. You have to choose your friends good as well. Like Carl, I would stay with Carl all night because I know at one point he's definitely going to get so hungry that he's just going to go for food. He's like, nah, I can't drink anymore. Let's go for food. So I'm like, yes. And also, he's a really good drunk. He just gets happier.
Yeah, it's very hard. I'm told it's very hard to tell when I'm drunk.
So my brother's a good drunk, but you can tell he's drunk. He's a very friendly drunk. Is that the same for you?
Yeah,
like
I'm just generally quite friendly.
I mean, all the lads are friendly, but the conversation goes downhill fast sometimes, and you're like, right, that's that. I'm not getting any more good conversation.
No, it's time to go.
Time to make excuses and go.
No,
you get used to it as
I'm
well.
quite
It's fun.
functional drunk as well. I can still cook and do many tasks that most drunks wouldn't even attempt.
Oh, that's the exact opposite
So
of
people
me.
think I'm not that.
My
drunk.
faculties shut down fairly early on.
Yeah, the point where people are like, Carl can probably drive, can't he?
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
Like, no, I've had a bottle of vodka. I'll get a go.
Don't.
it does not drink
do
it.
that.
Don't drink it.
No, I don't drink it. No.
Are you gonna stay for Christmas off it or?
So the plan is to get to Christmas. Whether
Yeah.
I think the whole family event on the day will probably, I was going to say, push me over the edge, but I'm not putting any pressure on it, as they all say when people take a bit of a time out from booze. Just kind of recalibrating and reworking out my relationship with it. It'd be wonderful if that was it done.
Yeah.
Realistically, is it? I don't know, but it's a mental health thing. Like, I feel a million times better than I did 2.5 weeks ago, and it's almost quite frightening to think that it can have that much of an impact on you. And it, I certainly wasn't out every night by any means, but I did need to just stop for a bit and just remember what it's like to, Well, we're gonna have to go to this a gin launch on Thursday for this Beaufort Spirits, this Birmingham gin. And I'm just going to stick with you, Liam, and see what,
I mean, we could stick with Leo as well, because Leo's who don't know Leo's the creator of the gin.
Well, I interviewed him.
Oh, have you?
Thursday or Friday. So this week's I Choose Birmingham is an interview with Leo.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, it's a fascinating guy, right?
Yeah.
How
Prodigy drummer, yeah. Like,
was he? I wish I knew that before I interviewed him. Shit.
We keep saying this.
I checked it.
I was
Yeah,
good. I'm glad someone's checked
yeah,
it.
I checked it.
We keep saying it.
But it turns out he doesn't really like talking about it, so it didn't.
Well, he
make much
didn't.
Well, I'd
difference.
imagine that's all people end up talking about a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'd mention it within.
definitely
If it was
mention
me, I'd mention it. Yeah,
it'd be hard
like being a
not to, wouldn't
vegan.
it?
I would introduce myself as Leo from the Prodigy. But yeah, that'd be cool. I think it'd be good. You'll be all right.
Yeah, well, as long as what would you have at a cocktail gin launch as a soft drink? Like, what do you do? You mentioned something by text message that interests me, that there's lots of interesting people to speak to. So do you kind of throw yourself more into the discussion than, even the soft drinks,
Yeah, it's not. You've got to make do with the drinks, especially at something like this. I mean, North Brew, we went to the North Brew opening party last Monday, a week ago. And luckily, there was good alcohol-free beers.
Oh yeah, their selection of non-alcohols.
But I didn't even get to try that many because I was literally everyone we knew was in one room. So it was like...
Oh, that was like my Christmas party, that was. It was
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
It was very good, yeah.
Good to have another bow bar in as well. I mean,
yeah.
I suspect it's probably not quite up to Tiger Bites Pig, but, was it decent food there?
The food's good.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah, it's very good, yeah.
Good stuff.
It's not the same as Tiger Bites Pig. I don't know what the difference. They make all their barrels fresh and stuff, which is a good touch. He's a really nice guy, the owner of because it's separate. But he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he was really sound.
I would say the little touches with Tiger White's Pig. The cured egg yolk and bits and pieces like that.
It's sort of funny that Bar Opus didn't work down there. Is it?
Have you ever come out of Snow Hill Station and turned left?
No.
Yeah,
well, there you go. That's a good
It's
point.
either straight or right, isn't it? You don't go left.
Well, it was for the Jekyll and Hyde or the Queen's Head, wasn't it? That's the only reason you'd ever turn
No,
left out there. But even then, you go forwards and then like you go up the road and then left. You don't necessarily.
Yeah.
turn
I never
left
even
straight away.
realised that I used to go through Great Western Gate and then turn left.
What?
That's how much I never turned left. I didn't even know what was left. Do you know, I used to go to Wayland Yard. Think how close Wayland Yard is there. And you just walk out of snow, turn left, right, Wayland Yard's there. I used to go through Great Western, left, and then left again, back on myself. That's the way I used to go to Wayland Yard. That's how much I didn't know that side of town. But
Trying to build up an appetite.
it only takes one great place, though, to make it more accessible, doesn't it? Like, you know, a reason to go there, so...
I think good. I think it's going to clean up a lot of the business around there as well. I think they're going to get a lot of footfall. When I was in there, because I went the day after as well, because I went up Birmingham with my brother's back, so I took the day off and we just went out drinking all day. And we were there like, I think 4 or 5 o'clock, and people were walking past, stopping, looking, coming in. There was people that had clearly already been there, like a lot of the business types on the way to the station. I think it's going to do well there.
And how do we feel about, like, by its very name, North Brewery? How do we feel about... Is it Mancunian or Leeds?
It's from Leeds, yeah. Leeds
So, like,
Brewery.
It's like rubbing it in our face that it's north. Definitely not
exactly.
there.
Yeah, imagine if we opened in Leeds with Brummy Brewery. But presumably,
But that
you know,
could happen one day.
It could.
Potential. The way Attic are moving, they've got their second place, and their second place sounds phenomenal. A barrel-aged beer bar.
yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, I was talking to him about it the other night, and it sounds phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Really good stuff.
Are they good operators as well, and without
Yeah.
losing touch of... I think the best Attic brew is almost my local pub. And I love how community focused they are. I mean, it sounds a bit wanky, but they really are. They put on, you know, all sorts of stuff that
markets
benefits
and all
Sturchley and
sorts of stuff,
Bourneville.
yeah.
Yeah, craft markets. It's not just about food and drink. They even did like a home brew competition where the locals who, you know, probably making stuff that tastes like vinegar in their, you know, in their attic. Just show up with a drop of each and, you know, have a bit of a I just love that about them. It's
And their collabs are good. Their collabs aren't just with other beer places either. They did a Punk and Chances collab, their table beer, which was phenomenal. By the way, yeah, that was a great beer.
Punks and Chances again, another.
Again, one of
it's
our
a
favourite
wonderful
things
brand,
ever.
aren't they? Like a
Yeah.
Brummy brand that's just. They seem to be appearing everywhere now, and you've made it when without having to push your brands there. And I think Punk and Chances are at that point now. And I almost like the way they've sort of committed to Birmingham. It's almost like in the same way that I Choose Birmingham won't be and I Choose Sheffield, it won't be and I Choose Bristol. Punks and Chances is so inherently Birmingham. It's almost like they've got nowhere to go and they're okay with that. You know, it's okay that there's a ceiling to your business.
Yeah.
It's okay that you're, I don't know, how much they're turning over, but it's okay to say I'm earning enough and I'm not going to, jeopardize that by pushing it too far or spreading myself
I
too
think me and
thin.
Liam are giving them most of the business. I think between us, we own every piece of clothing they've made.
I don't know,
Zoe's
man.
done a
Like
good job.
an all right duck Stoke kind of brand.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really
that'd be
nice.
alright, that
Nottingham
would.
is a duck city as well. Nottingham, yeah.
Duck as well. See.
Do you know what? We should buy that URL now and steal a march on Zoe quickly.
Yeah, you can do another one. It's called a batch.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Tom's writing that down.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I still own the URL to I Choose various cities, and I don't know why. Every year, it comes back for automatic, payment, and I always pay it, and I'm never going to launch into another city, but. I guess you just kind of like to have that option.
Well, you've got the option to sell it to someone if they wanted it, I suppose.
Well, a friend of mine bought TomCullen.com and still owns it. Desperate for me to one day buy it off him. So if that day ever comes.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but back to Northborough, I think they've done it right though. When they've launched, they've got loads of locals involved. I mean, they're one of the original breweries. They were there before craft beer was a thing. They were like a real ale sort of place. And now they've done a collab with Attic. I think did they do one Dig Brew as well?
Dig Brew's on the taps at the moment. They've got one with Dig Brew and one with Attic. And when we went up there, they had one with Dig Brew on. Their collab thing, like half their menus collabs. And they do really a lot out of that. But they've always had a strong focus on Birmingham anyway. They used to do stuff with the Wolf back in the day when the Wolf first opened. They had a few nights there that they set up and did stuff. I'm fine with it. No one else was doing anything there.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they shouldn't do
I
it.
absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
I don't want to be one of these people that, I only drink Dig Brew and I only drink Attic. Like, there's lots of nice beers, and these people that run these places, they drink other people's beers.
Of course, yeah.
Well, they were all at the opening for North Brewers, were they? They were all having a good try of the beers. So I don't know. I think it's no one else was doing anything.
No, I agree.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think big brands like that might be a bit more national and come down this way. I think there's a bit of respect for them if they do it well, you know. And also, there's something about coming Birmingham instead of London. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, like Albert
Yeah,
Schloss.
yeah.
They were like, "Nah, we ain't going to London.
Yeah,
we'll
Rudy's.
go Birmingham."
Yeah.
Rudy's,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't
yeah.
it? There are certain brands that launch into Birmingham, and you know that they're bigger than the West Midlands, significantly bigger, and you almost sort of warm to them. And I don't think that comes down purely to clever marketing. I think it comes down to the, as you said, the people that you collab with. It's an awful word, collab. But how warmly you enter into a city. You don't come in Billy Big Bollocks, and
like
and
some people have done.
And I think Brummie's warm to that. You're super welcome here as long as you don't, Oasis it, swagger in, and
That's it. You do it the right way, and you're part of the gang then.
yeah.
Perfectly happy. Like, yeah.
I
Brilliant.
wonder if it's trickier the other way. I do wonder whether launching into your Manchesters or Liverpools, and it's Park London, I suspect that's a completely different beast. But it would be interesting to speak to a Brummie brand. Brad Carter with his 1-star Doner bar in Manchester. I'd love to know how that went and whether Manchester was completely receptive and whether Brummies were like, how dare you? Why is that not launching?
Well, sorry, where's the Birmingham one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know
Mama
what
Rouge's
you
just
mean.
done it as well, haven't they? The Mama Rouge just opened in Manchester.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's open yet, but they've definitely moved up that way to have a look. So.
Oh, it's nice to hear stories
Yeah,
that go
I
the
like
other
that,
way,
yeah.
doesn't it?
But I think they're similar sort of cities, especially Birmingham, Manchester. They're similar sense that there's a high sort of proportion of people that are from other areas, globally and in the country.
Yeah.
They've just gone to these cities through uni, or just they lived somewhere that was a bit quieter and wanted a bigger city, and they've gone to them. I think that's the makeup of Birmingham, Manchester, and Leeds and places like
Young
that.
as well, like
Yeah.
young cities. Manchester's fairly young. Birmingham's the youngest.
That's right, yeah.
so-
Yeah, in Europe, in fact.
Is it Europe?
Yeah,
God.
I don't really know Manchester very well. You and I had that night.
We
out.
had a good time.
Me-
Well, you
me
knew
and Carl
you
had
ended
a-
up somewhere before all of us, and our tour guide there was from Manchester.
Yeah,
and we were like, "How
that's
did you
right.
get here?"
Yeah, but that was my first visit to Manchester. And I'm not sure
you did
whether it's
well.
kind of built into me to be sort of inherently not anti it, but I'm so staunch Birmingham that I wonder whether there's something holding me back from going there.
There's this whole sort of fake, I don't know if it's fake actually, but this whole sort of Manchester versus Birmingham sort of ethos on independence and drinking
Yeah.
and culture. And I don't really get why that exists at all, to be honest, because I love going out in Manchester. I think it's a great city.
Oh, I like stoking up the rivalry.
Yeah, I've noticed. Which is fun, but I don't really
I don't buy
understand-
into it. I just think it's fun.
I don't
Yeah.
understand where it comes from and why people like, yeah, you might be the second city, but our city centre's actually big. Like, who gives a flying fuck? London dwarfs both
Yeah.
of us combined. They're not bragging about it. They're just getting on with it, enjoying Soho.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much true. To be honest about Birmingham, I might stoke that rivalry tongue in cheek, but we are just getting on with it, and I think that's what people buy into about Birmingham. And what perhaps is the most honourable thing about the city is, for all these decades of having shit slung at us, we've just been getting on with it, and I think the city's it's paying off now. Finally,
Yeah, finally, yeah.
So people often say Birmingham doesn't shout about itself enough. I mean, that's all well and good, but it turns out we didn't need to, did we?
Yeah.
Because we just stuck to our guns, and eventually, having not shouted, and I think the coolest people on earth are those that don't shout. Having not shouted, finally, the eyes of the country, I think, are on us, and not just because of the Commonwealth Games, because of your Digbeth dining clubs, because of an independent bar and restaurant scene, because of Icon
Michelin
Gallery,
stars, yeah. Yeah.
Birmingham Royal Ballet, the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, all of these things sort of reaching a crest of a wave about the same time, and suddenly everyone wants to live here, and more to the point, it's very welcoming to those people. If you're up for it, come and join us.
Well, it's going to get
Places.
even as soon as HS2's done between Birmingham and London.
Yeah.
We're only like an hour
Even
away from
easier.
London. People are going to be, why they pay 4 times the price, house price there when you can come to Birmingham? Most people that work in London live about an hour outside of it anyway.
Yeah, I lived there for 13 years, and I absolutely love London. But I mean, how much of those millions of things you can do in London London that people actually do.
Yeah.
You know, you have a smaller version of it in Brum. You know, you probably got, I don't know, 4 orchestras in London and 1 in Birmingham. How many orchestras do you need? How many bars do you need to visit? How many tapas restaurants
How
do
many
you have?
opera houses do you actually require in one city?
Exactly. And I mean, I think I've said to you before, actually, fellas, that in summer London is, for my money, the best city in Europe. Come winter, you could be anywhere. You're on the tube, underground, for an hour a day, and you're just going from A to B. And as wonderful as that city is, I think, when you, on balance, when you measure it all up, Birmingham holds its own. It really does, and that's why, you know, after 13 years there, I've ended up here and couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you.
Thanks.
We're happy you moved back.
We're very glad you chose Birmingham.
Yeah.
We're like 25 minutes in and we haven't even asked, what is it you do? What is I Choose Birmingham for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, good point.
They should know what I Choose Birmingham is.
So,
if they don't.
so weekly.
Yeah, I'd imagine they do.
Yeah, thanks for that, Liam. Let's get the plug in before time's up. So weekly email about the best things to do in Birmingham. The pivotal word there is best. It's not just things to do in Birmingham. It's the best things to do in Birmingham. So I think I'm sort of like the first edit for you, kind of like the first filter. You know, there's so much going on in this city that perhaps it's helpful if one person whittles it down to perhaps the most interesting on that week on its own. So many things I consider every week don't get in. So I often get asked, like, surely that restaurant can't be... It can't be a brilliant restaurant every week. It can't be a brilliant show every week. It can't be a brilliant concert every week. And no, it's not. But... you know, the things that perhaps aren't up to scratch don't make it in. And I think that's the difference between I Choose Birmingham and, you know, your average citywide what's on listing that will tell you everything.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I Choose Birmingham is the edit of the best. And I think the hardest thing for a writer to realise is that nobody reads anything anymore. You know, they look at things. And if the imagery, the headline and the intro are kind of working their asses off, usually they're going to read the whole thing. But we've all become very bite-sized, and that's what it is. You won't find a 3,000-word long read in this weekly email. It's little nuggets of gold around the city that you can read on your 40-minute bus journey, you know, 20-minute train journey, whatever it might be. Yeah. And learn something each time.
Yeah, it's
so that's
fantastic, man. I mean,
I find stuff all the time.
We
I
find
like to
stuff
think
all
we've
the
got a good knowledge of what's going on in Birmingham, and I still read your email weekly, and I'm like, I didn't fucking know about that. I don't know about that.
That's
click
great.
the link.
I'm doing
You always
that.
put the links in, so it's handy. So you just click the link and go to the page, and then you get there.
Oh, it's so
Make
easy.
a note of that.
Yeah, and hopefully there's, I guess, a tone of voice that resonates with Brummies. So, you know, what it isn't for tourists. It's for the people that already know the great restaurants. It's to tell them that the menu has changed and the new best thing on the menu is this.
Yeah.
Or that, did you know the Hippodrome are now showing, you know, whatever it might be. And that actually there are still tickets left on this row, which is an incredible row at this price. You know, it's that granular information that your average, not even your average Brummie, people like yourselves who know Birmingham inside out, as you've said, which is great, still learn stuff from. So that's what it's about. And it's free, so the price is right. You know?
You don't lose anything. There's no negative effect of being signed up to your thing. Like, read it or don't read it.
And I always say it's easy to unsubscribe, and it really is. Like, you know.
And it's one a week. Like, how many? I get like fucking 4 emails a week off Sports Direct. I'm like, what? They keep sending me emails for?
Yeah, the trick is with e-marketing. It's editorial, but the trick is to show people that it's not spam, and that's the tricky thing, because there is wave after wave of email spam that it's very difficult. I think as a brand, people's eye spots the I Choose Birmingham email and will open it. In fact, the open rate is ridiculously high. So it's 52% of all the people that receive it open it. So the industry average is about 12.
Yeah, that's
so clearly it's
crazy.
on to something, but there is still this ever-going battle to convince people that actually putting your email address in a subscription bar isn't a waste of time, won't clog your inbox with garbage. This is hopefully well thought out, hopefully well written, you know, content, decent content.
You've been doing the newsletter 10 years. Did it take long to build that trust so people did open the newsletters?
The first email that went out, it went to 70 people. And I mean the open rate was sky high, but it didn't really dip off. So honestly, no. And I think the key to it is that the social media content where most people find I Choose Birmingham first, it's quite conversational. Hopefully it's quite engaging. And that follows through in the email. But actually building a any idiot can get a 20,000 database of people, but making them open it really is the key. And that's the tricky bit. So hopefully, they enjoy reading it, and hopefully it sets itself aside by being well written. And I'm not saying that e-magazines in the city aren't.
Yeah.
But I think the hope is that this is a cut above. But I'm bound to say that.
Yeah, you have a particular tone of voice, and you've managed to protect it quite well, even when you have, because you're not the only writer on it. You obviously have Claire and sometimes Rob.
Yeah.
And they seem to also have your kind of style, if you know what I mean.
The first trick is to find the good writers. So a really good writer can take on a tone of voice, and you're right. It is very. I guess it is my voice, but the two you named, for example, I mean, they're just they're naturals as well. And I don't know, in a world where everyone's a photographer and everyone's a writer and everyone's a podcaster with respect, you've got to be able to be, the best, or if not the best, at least I hope to think that I Choose Birmingham is one of.
Yeah.
And those writers just absolutely have that natural ability to you wouldn't know what I've written and what Claire's written.
Well, that's a game I play when I'm reading it. I'm reading through.
Really?
See, obviously, you don't say till the end who's on. I'm reading from because sometimes it is just you, and sometimes you're like you and Claire, you or Rob or whatever. I'm trying to guess who's done what, and then I get to the end, I'm like, it was all Tom. I thought like this. I thought this was like.
Yeah, I think it's kind of. I think for
you genuinely can't tell.
Yeah, that comes from FHM. So I wrote for FHM, and for all the bad things you can quite rightly say about FHM, the tone of voice was second to none. It really had that feeling of being part of a clique. There'd be in-jokes that would run from month to month, and if you think you're expecting your reader to remember a joke you wrote a month ago and you're repeating it, well, to do it weekly, and these aren't, gags, they're turns of phrase, interesting things that keep you reading. Well, that's, if you cut your teeth at somewhere like FHM, then you can tell a very decent writer like Claire how to do it, and that's how it stands up from article to article. And I'm not expected to write absolutely everything, because I think there isn't actually word count wise a lot of words in I Choose Birmingham, but it's poured over and it's supposed to sound effortless, but it's really bloody not. It's a lot of effort to make it sound effortless. So even a 200 word article, you've really got to have every sentence singing. It's really got to keep people interested, because you want people to go off and do that thing you're suggesting,
Yeah. Do you impose a word count on yourself or any of the other writers?
Yeah, so it's interesting it's not so much a word count, it's more an article count. So with a website, you can keep writing and writing and writing, and it doesn't matter when you stop. I mean, it should matter, because people will get bored, but technically it doesn't. But with an email, magazine writers work in pages. I work in adverts. The reason being, the email can only accommodate a certain number of ads.
Yeah.
Before Gmail in particular cuts it off, and all these boring reasons. But ultimately, recognizing that your form of publishing is meant to be bite-sized is incredibly important, and recognizing that unless you're Marina O'Loughlin, no one gives a shit after I think after 500 words.
Yeah.
And if the email can only accommodate 5 editorials, and let's say there should be 5 adverts, and let's say there should be 2 editorials per ad, that's quite a nice balance. And also there's spam filters that jump in when there's far too many images for the number of words there are, and all these nerdy, fairly boring things you need to factor in so that you avoid spam filters. The trick is make sure there's quite a lot of words, it's all interesting words, and a number of adverts and images. It's kind of that simple, but the amount I've learned over 10 years of doing it. Jesus.
Because you get these longer articles that it sort of starts off with.
Yeah.
My favourite bits, I don't know, I do like the reading, it's all very interesting, I do like it. but I like the snippets at the end.
Yeah, the any other business
Like
is
the-
the most
yeah,
clicked.
like-
Is that
most
what it is?
clicked
Any
bit.
other business?
Yeah, it's
See,
called AOB. Yeah,
I thought it was any other bollocks.
it is now, Liam.
That's what I just thought it was. Because that's what I could imagine you saying. Like, oh, any old bollocks. Any other bollocks.
Any other
But I
business.
tend to find that's where I tend to most of my clicking. I'm like, oh, I'll look at that.
Do you
Oh,
know
I'll look at that.
Yeah, so obviously you can get really granular about the statistics, and the click-through rates show that that is the most popular bit. But I guess that's why clickbait works. So the any other business section, mostly the articles, they're not articles, the sentences are 50 words long. So you have to click on them to find out the rest of the information, whereas the top feature you mentioned, the big one, can be as much as 1,500 words long. You've pretty much told everyone everything there is to know by the time you've finished writing that. So they might not necessarily click through to find out more because they've learnt it all.
You say it's for the best, not like you're just not bringing everything to it. Has it been harder and harder as Birmingham's got better to whittle it down? Or
Easier and easier.
easier? I thought as there would be more good stuff, more great stuff.
Oh, I see, yeah.
It'd be quite hard to just say, oh,
Yeah.
sugar
Yeah,
now,
I see
put
what
a
you
note
mean.
down.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it possibly has got harder in that regard. I tell you what, it was very difficult at first when I first moved here because I launched it within 2 months of arriving in Birmingham. So anyone that read that first email, I mean, I didn't know anything that was going on here. So it's got easier in so much as I know the city inside out
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Has it got easier to cut things out? More difficult to cut things out? Probably has. Yeah, it probably has. And there are, this is a PR's job is to say, well, why didn't that get in? Well, what can I do next time that might get published? And it can be sometimes difficult to say it was a bloody good story.
Yeah.
But this one was a bit better.
Yeah.
But easier also because I think the more highly people regard it, the more they'll come to me with a story. So we often beat the Birmingham Mail to exclusives.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes if you can reach PLC owners of the Daily Mirror to
Yeah,
to
you're
the
doing
punch.
really well.
People see something in it,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, harder and easier in certain
same
different
time.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think, like, how many emails you get asking, can this be in your newsletter? You must get like 100 emails a day. Can you put this in your newsletter? Can you put
Yes,
this?
more than 100,
Yeah,
genuinely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
probably 200.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you get quite, it's a really difficult job, PR, and I think you have to be, really polite. You don't disregard press releases. I do try to respond and say it's not quite right for us.
Yeah.
Thanks ever so much. I think journalists, in fact, I know journalists can be quite cold with PR, and the whole fucking industry wouldn't work without them. It's absolutely, they're incredible. So just to say, actually, that's not quite right this time is quite easy. But when you've got to do that 200 times, it can be quite a handful.
Well, I suppose you've got know what works for your email and you know what's going to work. Say something's opening up in Sturchley, you're going to know already a very good chance that whether it's going to be good or not.
Yeah, and do you know how difficult it is sometimes to explain why it's not in?
Yeah.
Well, I just know. It's just, I've been in this industry in lifestyle writing for 25 years. I just know now, and it's hard sometimes to say. I haven't got a specific reason, but I just know that wouldn't resonate with my audience. Sorry,
How many emails have you released, sent out now?
So this week's is number 429.
Yeah, you'd like to think you know what you do.
Yeah,
To what to
yeah.
include.
Was there any a moment at the beginning where you thought, oh shit, this might not work, or I might have to go back to London?
But that's all I thought for the first 3 years. That's all I thought. I had an email from Laura, who used to write for Writers Boom. She's moved to Cornwall. She's trying to work out how to rediscover a love for writing and do it from the countryside, from the coast. She sort of asked me, like, when did you know it was going to work? And it was so bloody hard. It was such a slog. I couldn't pinpoint it at all. But I was freelance writing at the same time as launching it. And I think that's the key bit of advice I'd say to anyone that was going to do something similar. Is perhaps don't put all your eggs in one basket. I suspect Elon Musk would probably say the opposite. If the pressure's on, you will make it succeed. But I did the opposite. I knew that if this went south, it wasn't the end of the world. I still could be a freelance writer, and that would perhaps be my advice if you wanted to change things up a bit. You don't have to quit your job and go all in on it, you know. But it was a hell of a slog. And eventually you realise that you're not emailing others, they're emailing you. They're telling you, asking you if they can get something into the email, you know?
That's very similar for us
Yeah,
now.
that's
Isn't it?
exactly
When we
what's
started, we
happened
were
to
asking
us,
everyone, do you want to come on the pod? Now we don't we ask some people here and there, but we
So
just
how
get
long-
offered so many podcasts now, and I'd say we turn down more than we do.
How long have you been going? 4 years?
4 years.
4 years, but you could probably get rid of a year through COVID.
COVID, I'm taking them
killed
away.
it.
Yeah. Well, let's just not talk about it.
Yeah.
But there's over 100 episodes now.
Yeah.
Some of them are just us talking, the earlier ones, but I'd say interviews, you're probably looking at 80 odd.
Do you ever
minimum.
go back to the early ones?
I think
I
I
get
listen
it.
to every episode about 5 times.
Of course.
Yeah, you edit, so you're
Yeah,
going to have
it's-
to. You must
But
be so
even
sick of my
I
voice.
do the van test, so when I'm at work in my van, I have to put it on in the van and see what I think of it while I'm driving, like while I'm doing other stuff, make sure it's engaging. Like,
So how long before you felt you turned a corner that people were coming to you?
I don't know, it took a while, didn't it? Because I don't know, we're quite both, I wouldn't say pessimistic, but we give it a lot of thought, and we're always like, I hope people like this, and this is. And now we don't really think about it at all.
I had
now.
no idea about PR. Like,
I didn't know it was a big thing.
I did not know that every restaurant or most restaurants have PR or most chefs have PR, and it would have been so much easier if I did know that at the beginning. That I could have just went to and made friends with somebody in PR instead of having to try and make friends with everybody. But I feel like maybe that's worked in our favour that we have kind of done that, because we could call a lot of the chefs and restaurant owners genuinely friends, like text them now and say those things. And
Yeah, it's not a week goes by we don't
Yeah.
not talking to someone or another about something.
That's great.
Gossip, like it's great in that sense. But yeah, PR was a massive shock to us. We had no idea how important PR was.
And
look
there's some
at-
absolutely incredible PR companies in Brum as well.
Well, we do a lot of stuff. The one we know probably the best and does give us a lot of work, especially early on, and were really supportive of us, was the relationship. And they've done, for us, they've done great things, but they really care, the people that work there. And
Yeah, they have Joe and the team. They have creative ideas. I think that's the
they're
key
really
to
good at
brilliant
what they
PR.
do.
Is
But we
coming-
had, no, like this was all, this was something we learned fairly quickly. We were like, this is all PR, like I don't understand, like, a lot of people do the whole Instagram thing, you find, like, for free stuff and invites, and I want to go to this opening, I want to go to this, and,
Yeah.
I hope I can get to this. We didn't know that was a thing either. Like, when we started doing the podcast, we didn't know we'd ever be invited to anything.
didn't even dream of it.
We didn't think, like, why would we? We didn't. One, we didn't really know they happened, and two, we didn't really thought we'd ever. Why would we get an invite to this, or why would we? Why would they want to speak to us about this?
I wonder if that's one of the reasons why it's going so well for you guys, because you're not driven by advertising sales. You know, you are amiable, lovely fellas and it's more of a conversation, isn't it? What you do, I think, is why.
Well, that's the first thing we said when we sat down, is we wanted it to sound like we were just talking.
We're not
Yeah.
professional interviewers. We're not like journalists. Neither of us have been to university. So it's like, I'm not slagging people that are real journalists. But
No, of course
I think it comes across as a different style. And I think chefs, because a lot of chefs don't go to uni, or they kind of resonate with this style as well.
Yeah.
Like when we're interviewing a chef, like Carl will swear pretty early on. And
Yeah.
I think that's
There's a
good.
good chance in every conversation I'm going to do that.
Because I think straight away, nothing says this isn't the BBC more than, oh,
Yeah.
shit, or fucking
Yeah,
that.
right,
That straight away, like chefs on ears, they're like, oh, yeah, this isn't the BBC. I can say what I want.
Yeah.
But I'd say, going back to your original question, like, Alex Clary,
That guy.
Alex was
Easy
the
for you to
first chef to kind of message us and say, can I be on the podcast?
Oh,
and like,
wicked.
what a name, like, you know,
Yeah.
he was like, when I drew up a list of people who I wanted on the podcast, like dream guests at the beginning, Alex was on that
He
list.
was on the
obviously.
list, yeah.
So when he messaged us, and then when he came on, and then we had Stu just after MasterChef,
Yeah.
and that kind of felt like and then obviously COVID. That was March
Yeah.
2020. So, but that felt genuinely like where people kind of looked at us and went, "Oh yeah, they're taking this serious now." Because I mean, like, I think it's like 80% of podcasts don't last more than 7 episodes. It's a ridiculous number. Like,
Well,
You got. I mean, I'm interviewing you now, but one of you put out. Is it
The Spotify stats.
your Spotify
I
Unwrapped?
couldn't-
Right?
I
So
couldn't get over
those
that.
stats are incredible.
A top 5% most followed podcast in the country.
Top 5%.
Because podcast stats are weird. You know, like you can go on your. Well, I do the newsletter on MailChimp, so I
Yeah.
can go on MailChimp. It tells me how many. It tells you everything. Whereas the podcast, it's like split, so you'd have to go onto iTunes, Spotify. So like iTunes don't give you that information that Spotify just did. So that was only on our stats for Spotify. But when I seen them, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was sitting there, I was like, has he made these up? I couldn't get over it. I was like, shit.
And it was like...
It's almost like daunting. Like, you're like, oh,
I didn't realise I didn't put the countries one up. It was like a stupid amount of countries as well that we listened to in, which was weird. I was like...
Yeah, I was like, who's out? Like,
I noticed we get a couple of listens straight away in Ireland because I got loads of family there, and then Australia because I got family there. But then there was like Cyprus for a little bit because your brother was in Cyprus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just...
yeah,
it was
he's listened to a
crazy.
few.
Just did not expect it at all.
No, it's very odd. Them stats, they're very flattering stats. As I look at them, they're just like, wow.
Yeah, well done.
Like, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't really tend to, like, we get stats like this.
We'd do it if nobody listened.
That's it, like we've said, like,
Yeah.
there's an ethos that we started off with, that we always want it to be a conversation. We don't want to slag anywhere off. It'll get cut if someone does.
Yeah.
And we just, it's just a nice vibe. We want it to be a friendly, positive conversation
I'd
with
love
people.
a compendium of all the things you've had to cut.
You know what? It's explained pretty early on to most people, and if we don't know them, we'll say this is how we give a little explanation of what's going to happen. We don't say don't say this; it'll be cut. But we're a positive podcast, so
Yeah, same with iTunes.
we keep it.
Birmingham,
Yeah,
like,
we're not
what's-
here to slag anyone off. And there's some people you have to tell that you have to make that clear in advance before you interview them that you're keeping it positive. But that's just what we started off with, and it's exactly. We haven't changed. We haven't diverted once.
Although
from
you know,
how we do
like
it.
if you did keep all the negativity in, and then ran just like the headline on Twitter, we'd probably have like
Yeah.
100,000 more listeners.
We're
Yeah.
top 1% on Spotify.
I don't care, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, because you're like disarmingly friendly. You're not exactly a pair of Paxmans, are you?
No. Well, I think it plays because we just are. Like, I mean, I'm sure we would say this, but we are just nice and we are interested.
fanboys, really, aren't we? Just for the
Yeah,
industry.
we're just interested in the industry. We have a massive passion for it. We don't get paid for this. We do it because we like doing it. And if we don't want to do something, we don't do it. It's very simple.
Do you find it hard? Again, I'm interviewing you.
I was going to say,
No,
this
that's
has
fine.
changed
Interview
it.
away.
do you
it's
find,
fine.
do you find it hard after a day's work to get on
To do
this?
anything.
Particularly for you, Liam, to edit it together. So, for me, an interview that runs an hour and 20 long, I know I only need 20 minutes of that.
Yeah, but yours is way harder than mine
Sure.
because I just let it go. So it's like if it's 2.5 hours, it's 2.5. Well, it might be 2 hours, but you know, I'll rob one. Now Rob could have easily been 3 hours long, but
Rob Wood.
yeah.
Well,
Luckily,
that
you
man
don't know
knows
his dinner.
history.
Luckily, you haven't.
But that was what a podcast that was.
I'd still do it.
You know what? I'd do a 3-hour special with
Yeah.
him. He's that fascinating.
Yeah.
But for
and
you, you've got
engaging.
you've got constraints. You've got to get it down to
Yeah.
But
Yeah. With Rob Wood, that Leo from Beaufort Spirits, that new gin, described him as Rob as a mad scientist.
Yeah.
Which I think pretty much.
Well, we were talking about non-alcohol stuff earlier, and his non-alcoholic cocktails,
Yeah.
they're on a par with any alcoholic cocktail
Really?
you can have. They're so, like, I get to try Liam's, luckily. He doesn't get to try mine, but I get to try his. And they're phenomenal.
Yeah, they're
absolutely phenomenal. Like, and he really cares about the non-alcohol side. He can see the benefits, and he can see that some customers still want a drink experience at a restaurant, but it doesn't necessarily want it to involve
And they're served
alcohol.
at Atelier, presumably.
Yeah, but it is hard work, the podcast, but we have to. We love it. That's why I do it. I love it. Like,
Yeah,
but not in evening time. I'm not, like 8 o'clock. I'm a 5 o'clocker. 5 o'clock in the morning's my time, and then
Yeah, you're up at 5 editing this, aren't you?
yeah, 5 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock work, and then
You're a morning man.
yeah,
Me
I'm-
too.
I've always been a morning man. Gym at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'm lucky in the sense that I do a lot of the organising and emails and
Right.
getting us, and I can fit that in with my work quite easily because I get gaps in between what I do where I can sit down for 10 minutes and do a story or email someone back or email someone for this reason or that reason and text Liam, can you do this date?
Yeah,
At
and
this
then
time.
I'll text back 3 days later.
And then I have to send another text saying, no, Liam, can you do this day?
I'm not about texting or emailing back. That's not my thing.
But yeah, luckily we found a way of making it work. I think more than deciding it was going to work, it's just worked its way into our lives.
So you've managed to somehow turn the interview.
I know,
around.
yeah,
That's what I. That's what I do.
True journalist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we should, like I said before we started, we should do one where I just interview you two. I think people would love to know how Birmingham's Ant and Dec met, you know, and how you don't. If you had a fight in an elevator like Ant and Dec did,
I think that would be a short fight. I think I'd be coming out of that a lot worse.
Do you know those body language experts I feel like I'd be like, I'm saying yeah, but I'm shaking my head going, no. I couldn't think of anything worse.
I'd say you're more sort of introverted in some sense, where you don't really want to give too much away or like do a speech on a
Lock
stage.
me in a
or
room with a
something like
laptop and my editing software and I'll be happy.
Whereas I'm quite happy to get up and talk in front of a crowd. It wouldn't bother me. They're just people. People are just
Really?
people. I don't care about things like that.
Carl loves all the openings and stuff, whereas like
Yeah, work
I've
in
got
the
to work
room.
my way up for it.
yeah, me too.
I'm working the room like an
I'm not
uncle at a
natural
wedding.
either.
Oh, my uncle at my wedding.
Yeah.
Proper works the room. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. They're just people. Are just people. They're not above or below anyone else.
If one of your when you left, why did you leave London? We never asked that. I never asked that.
Why did I leave London? I remember the moment I decided to go. But I'd actually been offered a job. I didn't go straight to Birmingham. I went to Dubai.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Absolutely hated it. I'd say Dubai is the exact opposite of Birmingham in that nothing in Dubai is real.
Yeah.
Even the people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends in Dubai, lots of friends, but there's a certain fakeness that permeates not just the buildings and the people, but Birmingham is very real, like almost to a fault. Nothing is fake in Birmingham, you know. Coming from Dubai to Brum, what I most loved about it was the exact opposite. But I left London. I was offered that job in Dubai. I think I perhaps had lost interest in my job at Shortlist magazine at the time. And I remember I was on this really busy bus, and like we've got busy buses in Birmingham, but like in London they are horrendous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And two dogs started having a fight on this bus, and then the two owners started having a fight. And so I just got off the bus and I rang the editor of What's on Dubai and said I'm having that job and left. I don't know. I think perhaps I'd seen enough. The thing about my time in London, I loved London, but it never felt like home.
Yeah.
And like if in 13 years it doesn't feel like home, then it's not going to in 26. And Birmingham always did. In fact, you know, my mum's house on my mobile phone still is home. It says home, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the thing with Brum is that you can leave, but you'll always look at it as home, and I always did. But when I thought about launching I Choose Birmingham, I did look at Nottingham and I looked at Cardiff, and I like to think Birmingham won out on merit. It wasn't. People often think I just came home.
Yeah.
But if you grew up in Birmingham when I grew up in Birmingham, you wouldn't have been in a huge rush back. You know, by 2000 and when did I come back? 2008. It was a completely different city, you know, and it really was and still does appeal to people. Sometimes Brummies find that hard to believe that it appeals so much to people in other cities, particularly in London, and that's why it always comes top of all these Office of National Statistics.
It just came up the second best. Was it UK or was it the world?
Oh, that was a Time Out.
Yeah,
I mean that wasn't like a statistical
No,
analysis. That was,
but it's still fairly big.
What I found for the listeners, Time Out magazine put together the 10 best places to visit in the UK. So that could be a city or a town, it could be a village or a whole county, but it was the 10 best places to visit. Birmingham came second, and I knew this would rub people up the wrong way. But what I found really interesting when I put this out on social media was the reaction. So on the Brummies that follow me on Twitter are obviously incredibly passionate about Birmingham.
Yeah.
You know, they put it on their shoulders and they loved it. And then obviously it reaches people outside of Birmingham through retweets and whatnot, and suddenly you find the anti-Brummies that have nothing to do with Birmingham giving it a good kicking, and that's what I expect to happen. But if you go on Facebook, the reaction was incredibly negative from Birmingham outwards, even in Birmingham. This is what bothers me about Brum, is that there's a sort of subsection of Brummies that still have a negative opinion of their own city.
Yeah.
And I can understand that it's not perfect. I get that. And I like to think that I have quite a good balance on Birmingham. Obviously, I choose Birmingham is inherently positive, but I think me personally, I get that it's not perfect. I get it needs a lot of work. But if you look at these people, they actually live in Birmingham and they're responding to the post extremely negatively. And I think that, I don't know if it's a generational thing or...
I was going to say, sure, that's more a reflection of the age of people on Facebook.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I also think there's some youngsters in Birmingham who are extremely keen to get out as well. And I think there's perhaps the likes of us in this middle age bracket that see it for the benefits it has.
Well, one of the things I think about Birmingham, and it was a lot harder back in the day, but if you knew the right places to go, going out was always fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's still the case. There's more places to go, loads of great places. But I think in Birmingham, you have to know about them. And if you don't know about them, you're still just going out on Broad Street or your local pub or a Weatherspoons.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people in Birmingham that they don't know Sturchley is a good area to go out.
That's a good point.
And if they did go to Sturchley, they wouldn't know where to fucking go anyway.
Yeah,
You'd have to give them a map and draw it out from go to Attic, go to Birmingham, go to all these other great places. I think that's one of the problems Birmingham's got is there'll be 3 bad places and then a good place, and people will go to them 3 bad and not know about the 4th place that was fantastic and you missed it. And I think this is something we struggle with. It's like we've talked about how good Manchester is. Manchester's good, but everything's in one place, and you can walk to all these places and districts, and they're all right there. Yeah. Birmingham, if you're in Birmingham, there's someone, I've heard Couch is good for cocktails, and you're in the Jewellery Quarter. You're gonna be like, oh, where is it? Like it's Birmingham. It's got to be here somewhere. Let's walk to it. And you're clearly never gonna walk from the Jewellery Quarter to Sturchley.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful Brummy trait of being self-deprecating can sometimes blur into putting ourselves down, and I think there's almost a confirmation bias in a way, in that people will certain Brummies, I think, consume the media they want to consume that will tell them that Birmingham was better in the 1980s and I was there and it wasn't, you know? And they will, if they want to think that the world is going to shit, then they will read the media that tells them that it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find it quite infuriating sometimes when you see a Twitter bio, let's say, of someone who's giving Brum a kick and you click on it and they live in Birmingham, you just think, I don't want you to be blindly positive, but I do wonder whether you're also being blindly negative, and that, you know, there does seem to be that problem in Birmingham, and I don't think they have that in Manchester. I don't think they have that in Liverpool, Leeds, Sheffield, Bristol, and it's something that, you know, I don't want the city to change the wonderful positive traits that we have, and I don't want us to be a swaggering, you know, Billy Big Bollocks.
Yeah.
But I would like us to think that perhaps we owe our city a favour to not give it a kicking at every possible turn, because how can we expect other people to do the same if, you know, there's a percentage of us that won't give it a chance.
Yeah, definitely.
But all that said, it's important to remember that, you know, there are far many more people who think it's absolutely fantastic and who know it's absolutely and know that 4th bar or restaurant was the good one, you know, and see the changes that have been made in this city.
I think that's come through people like yourself and I choose and like other people that are doing cool things around the city. Like,
yeah, we need
there's
more.
Plenty of people shouting about the city, and I don't think there's certain people that aren't listening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you know,
they're just not going to listen by nature.
No, they've made their mind. They want their Carlin and a fucking Weatherspoons, and they're not interested in anything else.
You're right. Subscribe to I Choose Birmingham. Listen to Breaking Bread. Have the Independent Birmingham app. Maybe leave a few of the Birmingham Mail articles without clicking on them, just because they're saying that cyclists are ruining the city. You know, you know, everything in moderation in a way. You know, have a bit of balance here.
So if one of your old friends from London or Manchester or somewhere was coming to Birmingham for 24 hours, where would you take them? What would you take them to see? Where would you feed them?
Balti Triangle. Like, why isn't the Balti Triangle bigger than Cadbury World? Like, why isn't it on the map? Why isn't it? I mean, it is technically signposted from New Street Station, but only in that temporary signage. It should be. Everyone should know how to get there. There should be a museum of Bangladeshi and Indian and Pakistani immigration into Birmingham. It should be the place everyone's... That Al-Frash should never have closed. It shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, we should be so proud of the Balti Triangle, and not just because of the Balti, but because of how affordable it is, how fucking tasty it is, how much life there is in that part of Birmingham, and how few Brummies, I think, go there.
Yeah.
You know, it's unreal there.
No, it's crazy, isn't it?
We went up Ladypool Road, like, I think it was the first week of the Commonwealth Games, and it was buzzy. I think it was about 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and it was just...
There's just smoke billowing out of the doors there, that smell of cooked lamb or whatever it might be.
And there's places you'd look at and think, that can't be a restaurant. And then you go in, and you sit in this room, and you're like, this still doesn't feel like a fucking restaurant. But then you get this curry, and you're like, this is unbelievable. Where the hell's...
I remember, were you with us that time we told the taxi driver we were hungry, coming from town?
Yeah, and he was like, I know where to take you.
Yeah, it took us to somewhere on Ladypool Road, and he came in and ate with us.
Yeah.
It was like, took us into like this back room.
It was like a chip shop, wasn't it, almost? And then we went through the back door and ended up in this room with just other cab drivers, and we had this meal with her, and it was phenomenal.
What a place.
Like, I can't think of that happening many other places.
I'll tell you where else I'd take a friend from out of town. Have you been to Hockley Social Club when they're hosting the CBSO, the Symphony Orchestra?
I want to do this. We were talking to him about it as well, and he was on about how great it is.
Hockley is a special thing, anyway.
Jack. So it's the most beautifully Brummy experience, because there's this literally world-class orchestra in a street food event with a brilliant street food trader banging out tacos or Thai food, meters away. And it's absolutely wonderful to hear this outstanding music whilst being surrounded by perhaps the people you wouldn't normally find in Symphony Hall. And I'd take them there. Icon Gallery, like... What I like about Icon Gallery is, more often than not, the art, the exhibitions there are pretty out there. They're kind of like, whether you like it or not, you're going to be talking about it on the cab home. You know, it's it can be really wild, and I love that, and it's free.
What was that one in Digbuff that was like I think it was once a month, and it was in the back end of Digbuff.
They've got Eastside projects.
And it was massive, like 4 floors, several buildings, and you just walk around and they're all art installations.
And they've got Minerva projects out there.
Crazy stuff.
Digbuff's like, I mean, I'd take them to Digbuff as well.
Yeah, Digbuff.
It's not just,
I think that's
weird
what I'd
golf
be
and
going
table
for now.
tennis.
Yeah,
it's so much more than that.
Well, Digbuff's got something. I think Digbuff is something for everyone. Like, if you can't find something you want to do in Digbuff, then you shouldn't be fucking going out anyway.
Yeah.
So that's your 24 hours sorted. You better take them to the floozy.
I better what?
Take them to the floozy.
Oh, yeah, of course, the
see
fix.
that,
If they follow you on Twitter, they would have heard loads about it. So they better.
Yeah, that was pretty much my work, right?
Well, I'm still adamant that you stand there and you can see all the old buildings and the town hall and all this stuff, and you could pick up and be anywhere in the world, and it rivals everywhere just for beauty.
Yeah.
'Cause the buildings are old, they're beautiful, they're stunning, there's murals on them.
Yeah.
Like, I always stand there and look and think, I think some people just aren't looking. They just walk through on their day off or on the way to work, and they're not looking at it.
Yeah.
If you stop there and look around, it's stunning. It rivals anywhere easily.
I agree with that, but it also, it doesn't have to be stunning.
No, it doesn't have to. We're just very lucky that it is.
Yeah, but like, beautiful buildings don't make a beautiful city any more than like a beautiful face would make a beautiful person. Yes, we levelled some of our most beautiful buildings, but this city
that's a shame.
is beautiful because of the people. It's beautiful because of the independence. It's beautiful because of the buzz around the place. It's beautiful because people help each other out, and we could keep knocking down buildings. We shouldn't, but we could, and that will never go away. And that, I think that's the beauty of Birmingham, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I've always said it's like you can't just walk up to a stranger and hug them because you probably will get punched. But if you were in trouble, they would help you out.
Yeah,
that's Birmingham.
Yeah. Equally, I kind of love the outlook of knocking down. Obviously, I don't want us to knock down historical buildings, but I do quite admire the not giving a shit attitude. And some of my favourite Birmingham structures are Spaghetti Junction or the Central Library, which we stupidly knocked down because it was hideous. But I didn't mind it being hideous.
I loved it. I love the new library. It's one of my favourite buildings to look at. I think it's stunning. It's really good inside. But you could have done something else with the old library. You know what I mean? You could have worked it in or done something. 'Cause that'll be like for a lot of Brummies, it's a personal thing anyway. But that'll be back in at some point. Everything comes and goes again, and might take it down. But there'll be a time when people will be building stuff like that again.
Carl's going to do his questions.
Here's my super quick questions that never quick.
Hit me, Carl.
Here we go.
Is it like Mastermind style? Do I have 60 seconds?
Shall I dim the lights?
You know what?
Please dim the lights.
I would love to
My
put a time
special
limit on
subject is the floozy in the jacuzzi.
What's your favourite TV show?
This is where I have to say Peaky Blinders. You know, I don't watch Peaky Blinders, and I realise I probably should because it seems like it was quite good.
It's really good.
It was good.
It was really good.
I think I've missed the last 2 series though.
Really,
I
and I've
watched
never
the
watched
first 3. I think.
Mad Men. I never watched Mad Men.
No, I never got into that.
I got in and out of Mad Men. Lost interest sometimes. Yeah.
I was told
It was
nothing
good.
really happens, and that
No,
kind of put me
yeah,
off.
exactly that. Nothing really happens.
Band of Brothers was my favourite ever TV show.
That's a good one. Favourite movie?
My favourite movie as a child. I mean, the 2 movies I've watched most: Stand by Me and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But is your favourite movie necessarily the one you've watched most? Probably not.
No, it's never going to be the best movie ever made either. My answer's Predator.
Of course it is.
And I think you put on the list I've got, you've got The Crow or The Lost Boys.
Yeah, but both of them are the best films ever made. So.
See, in my opinion, The Predator's a 10 out of 10.
The Crow.
And Unbeatable.
Brandon Lee
during
died
the
during
film.
the film.
So how did they make it?
I think
it
it's
was
near
the
the
last-
end.
It was the end. Yeah, it was at the end.
There is a couple of scenes where someone else is.
Yeah.
But they don't
him.
film it chronologically. Like,
No,
the end
no, of
isn't
course.
necessarily the last thing they shoot.
It was the last day of shooting.
Oh, right.
the
That's
last
right.
time.
So,
Yeah, pardon the word.
Yeah.
Oh, did he shoot himself? He shot
He got
himself.
shot with a fake bullet and it killed him.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
So, do we say a film?
I've gone for Stand By Me or
Stand by
Terminator 2.
So we're going for them. Brilliant. Good, both.
Terminator
films.
2. That's classy, isn't
Terminator
it?
is fantastic.
Well, I
At
should have
any
gone for
point
something.
you join
I
the
should have gone
film-
for La Bella e Vita. I've gone for
Yeah.
Terminator 2, mate.
Terminator. You know, the answers we want to hear. What's your favourite band or artist?
Old Tom would have said Guns N' Roses. I've got like a embarrassing dad obsession with a young band called The Vaccines. I say
Yeah.
young, they were young a while ago. They're probably old now. But I listened to and I only listened to like 12 bands on repeat. So my Spotify Unwrapped was the same 12 bands it was last year, the year before that.
That's not a bad thing. You get people like their music. My wife's the same. She's got a very specific music taste, and that's pretty much what she'll listen to.
What's your karaoke song, if you don't mind me asking?
If I've got a
Carl?
karaoke song, I'm really, really obvious. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody. Like it's something I picked that
that
I
should
know
be
I.
banned.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of them. Like I know I don't have to do much work.
Oh, you don't have to do much. Oh, because everyone will join in.
Everyone else will join
Well,
in.
it's the
So I
hardest
tend
song
to pick
to
one
sing,
that's
sure.
but it's one I can you can pull the mic.
Well,
away
mine's
and it
Radio
still
Gaga,
goes.
so there's
Yeah, that's Queen
similarly,
again,
everyone will just jump in and help you. But also, you shouldn't be able to sing to do karaoke, right?
No, if you
You
can,
have
you're like,
to
oh,
be. You
wanker.
have to crucify the song.
I used to work in a pub where we done karaoke's on a Thursday, and I actually hated the people who really could sing because you knew they were there just to get an ego jump. Like, you're
Yeah.
I far preferred the drunk geezer who got up and made an absolute ass of himself
Yeah.
and just roared his heart out, and I loved that.
You will know Rob Newsom of Foodie Boys fame. He and I like to trawl Chinatown to find the hidden karaoke booths.
Yeah, my
That's
wife's
the
gone to
place.
a lot of them. She
That's
likes
the
them very
place
much.
to be.
Well, she has a playlist of karaoke songs between her and her friends, and they just add them onto the playlist now.
Rob also asked me to get the word heron into this podcast, but I've technically failed. Heron. Yeah.
That would be a hard one. To
Sorry,
work in,
Rob.
though.
Sorry, Rob.
Really weird one.
What's your favourite beer?
My favourite beer, so Longhorn by Purity, I suspect.
That's a good one.
Every year, I was the first customer at Pure Craft Bar and Kitchen. So every year on the March something, April something, they let me come in and have a beer on the house, and it's always Longhorn. And it's the best beer of the year, and then I'll go and watch a movie on my own. That's what I like to do.
National
on
Tom
that day.
Cullen Day.
Yeah, there should be one, shouldn't there?
No, I'm down with that. I do like Ubu. I'm a big fan of Ubu.
Yeah, Ubu's
Their
fantastic,
Ubu's
isn't it?
fantastic,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's what I can
the other
really
thing
drink.
about Longhorn is you don't have more than two because the hangover is intense.
Yeah. What's your favourite big fast food chain?
Five Guys for my sins. So like,
that was Liam's answer.
I recognise Meat Shack is miles better. I recognise Original Patty Men is. But sometimes if you're stuck at New Street Station and there's Five Guys there, I think my order is quite weird. I have mayonnaise, raw onion, no bacon, cheese, jalapeno.
Nice. That's
That's
not
it.
far off.
And no
mine.
fries because the amount of fries.
Oh, the small fries. It's like a whole bag full still.
How many people do you think have made the mistake of going with their partner or something and ordering a large fries each?
Yeah.
Fries.
I've made that mistake.
Everyone must have made that mistake.
Yeah, I bet they.
Do you get the milk? Have you ever had the milkshake from there?
No.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you're always on about the
It's
milkshake
best
there.
part about Five Guys
Is
is
it
the milk
really?
with the bacon crumb.
They put bacon in your milkshake.
They put bacon in your milkshake.
That should be illegal.
They've got a list, no, like the burgers. You just add your whatever. It's no extra cost. It's the same with the milkshake. They've just got a list of stuff. You can add all of it or as much as you want. I always have vanilla, salted caramel, Oreos, and bacon.
As a non-drinker, Liam, do you allow yourself more naughtiness on food? Do you kind of balance it off as, well, I didn't have 6 pints like Carl did, so I'll have bacon on my on my milkshake?
No, I turn it fair. I never really work like that. It's like just I only have that kind of food anyway, like Saturday, Sunday. Like
Yeah.
So that's a really boring answer. I'll tell you what I do though. Do you know if we go for like, I'll go for a Michelin star meal. What I spend at a Michelin star meal is what some lads will spend in a Friday night in a boozer, like, you know, and I'll justify that stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you know something I mentioned to you that I did want to talk about, but we're probably not going to be able to because we've run out of time? Dining on your own.
We can work with that. And that's fine. 'Cause that's a subject I'm very passionate
Should
about.
we do the quick version? Because I just find... So I've started doing it a lot more,
Yeah.
dining on my own. I really enjoy it. I enjoy
do.
going to the cinema on my own. I like eating on... The older I get, the more comfortable I am sitting on my own, pretending to read a book, but actually just looking at Twitter and eating a bonehead, you know? Bonehead's
Yeah.
great for it, in fact.
Well, that's a great place to be by yourself anyway. Like, it's perfect. I was out Saturday by myself. Walked the dog and went to the pub.
What percentage of people do you think are comfortable going to a restaurant on their own?
I think it's going to be
Not
low.
many, you know.
It's
I
going to
love
be
it,
a
I
small
do.
percent.
I've come up with a good hack though for myself.
Go on.
I just order 2 meals. On my own. If you look when I go for brunch, everyone's like, who did you go to brunch with? I'm like, no, I just went on my own. And I ordered 2 brunches. I ate both.
I don't think it's easy the first time you dine on your own. I think you just kind of have to get used to it.
I fell into it
And there are
through
certain
work.
restauants that
Yeah,
are good
well,
for
they're
it.
better for it
Bonehead
than
is
others.
a great one for it.
Meat
You don't
Shack, yeah.
Meat Shack, Tiger Bites Pig. There's certain places that are just...
I fell into it through work because I used to do a lot of lodging away, and sometimes you'd be lodging away yourself. You've got to go and eat,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there and you're thinking, "Well, I'll go for a drink first." And you're sitting there, you're like, "This is all right."
This
actually.
is
I'm
all right.
quite- I think it is as you get older, you get more used to yourself,
Yeah.
and you're less doubting everything you're thinking. You're comfortable in your own skin, then you're happy just to go there.
What is it about a restaurant that makes it comfortable for you to dine on your own? So, for example, where wouldn't you feel comfortable
I
dining?
was just
on?
about to say, would you go into a Michelin star and just dine on your own?
I've been
not.
to a very fancy restaurant. I went to Toffs by myself. I just took myself for
Yeah.
lunch.
Did
and
you
sat
sit?
there.
Did you sit at the?
Yeah, if I went somewhere like that, I'd want to sit at the counter.
Yeah, because
And luckily, I know some of the people that work there anyway, so that helps a lot of the
Yeah.
time. I tend to eat by myself or drink by myself somewhere where I already know people
Yeah.
who work there and can talk to someone. But equally, there is places I just go by myself and don't know anyone. And that's
Where-
nice
yeah.
sometimes.
But then Carter's, I'd probably go to Carter's and sit.
Yeah, that'd be a good
Do you
one.
know
Wouldn't
what?
bother me
You could,
doing that.
couldn't you? But where couldn't you, excluding Michelin star restaurants, where couldn't you eat on your own?
Do you know, some of them chains would be a bit weird. You know, if you went like Pizza Express, no, maybe not Pizza. What's the other one? Prezzo. Yeah, imagine something like that. You'd feel a
Sitting
bit
Prezzo
weird.
on your ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
Or
right.
even Pizza Express to an extent.
I think you're right. The Ivy. I wouldn't be on my own at the Ivy.
Yeah, no,
I
it's-
think anywhere
mean-
like you'd be very on show.
Yeah.
I think like a very large restaurant where there's lots of tables and you'd be very clearly by yourself.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it.
the only thing sometimes I think I worry that I'm like costing the restaurant money by taking up a table for two. On my own.
Liam, that's
Do you not
lovely.
think? I was-
That has never crossed my mind.
But you know, in America, in some American restaurants, if you go as a free, they'll charge you for four.
Yeah, I've
If
seen
you go
that.
as a one,
Oh,
they'll charge you
really?
for two. Yeah.
Do they still charge you at Marco Pierre White's for having a seat on the outside?
I would imagine
It's a
so.
fi- I think
I
it's a
would have
surplus
thought so.
fiver to sit around there.
Does Orelli do that?
No, they
No,
don't. And
no.
they, when they were launching, they told me they absolutely would not do that.
No, that's good. That's
Good for them.
promising.
Yeah, fair play to 'em.
Do you go to the cinema on your own, Carl?
I've had to. My wife won't watch a lot of the Marvel stuff.
Oh,
and
really?
You've been
Don't
behind
blame
it
me.
massively for the last sort of phase, and
I would do if I
you
had
would
the
know.
time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if it-
But you're sitting there like you shouldn't be fucking talking in the cinema anyway.
I wouldn't know. I don't know if I'd want to go on a Saturday though, or some like busy times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
daytime Tuesday.
Daytime, I
Daytime
think,
Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's like gigs as well. I've been to gigs by myself as well. See
you? I'd
bands.
struggle
And
with that.
Again, like I don't need to be with. Usually, you end up bumping into people and talking to people anyway. But again, you're watching what's on the stage. You're not necessarily there to chat to someone. Mm-hmm. So it's not really an area where it's a problem for me.
What was your next question?
Oh yeah. What's your favourite dish that you cook at home? Do you do much cooking?
I do. Yeah, I'm not great. I went to that Eureka cookery school at Simpsons
Yeah,
a
I
couple of
read
weeks
about
ago. I really, really enjoyed it, and I immediately asked for a pasta rolling machine for Christmas. To cook at home, I really like doing like Far East Asian stuff. So I've got a ludicrous drawer of those sorts of ingredients, and my eldest daughter absolutely loves it when I do noodles. So I love doing stuff like that. And other than that, anything that's a bit homely, stewy, casserole, pies, that sort of stuff. I'm not very good in the kitchen, but I get by.
That's what you need.
Do you ever go up to the Chinese supermarket?
Wing Yip.
Yeah.
I haven't ever been, and that is outrageous.
Even if you're not going to buy anything, it's
Yeah.
worth it just as an experience, just to walk around looking at stuff. I'm in there for a couple of hours. When I
I
go.
saw the Tiger Bites.
Terrible.
The Tiger Bites Pig Boys were in there,
That's
and
what
they
made
put
me
a
think of
video
it,
on.
yeah.
Looked great, didn't it? I go to that Seoul Plaza in Selly Oak, which is much smaller, but the same sort of I have no idea what I'm doing in here vibe. But everything looks great.
You just get to the frozen section. That's where I get lost. I'm just looking at
Yeah.
these frozen meals and frozen fish things, and I don't know what it is. And I'm just like, I just look at everything. I'm terrible in there. I've got
Yeah.
bad in Sainsbury's, to be perfectly honest, looking at everything. But go there, I'm just mesmerised.
Never go
It's
shopping
worth
with Carl.
going. Oh no, I'm there for ages. That's why I do it online now.
Yeah, can someone come and collect Carl? He's hasn't moved from the frozen aisle of
I
Wing
could
Yip for 2
easily
days.
use up a couple of hours in there just looking. What's your favourite food destination in the world other than Birmingham?
Oh wow! I tell you what, it isn't. I went to Cuba and the food was not up to
Really?
not up to much. Maybe I made bad decisions. You probably shouldn't be able to make bad decisions though in an entire
I'd
country.
be funny though
Yeah.
if your national dish is a sandwich. Like,
Yeah, I love a sandwich though. I'm mad for
Right.
sandwiches.
Conversely, not far from Cuba, I went to Barbados and they've got I think it's called Oyston's Fish Fry. It's a weekly thing they do. And oh my word, it's absolutely unreal. And that Bayesian yellow chili sauce that goes well with
Yes.
absolutely everything.
I've got
that
one at
was
home. It's insane, isn't
sensational.
it? So good.
Let's
Can't
go with
remember the name of it.
Barbados.
Oh, I'll take that as any. That work for most answers. To any
Yeah,
question.
favourite band?
What's the best? Yeah, Barbados. Done.
that's us.
That's us. Thank you very much, Tom.
I have
That was awesome.
one more question for you.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to go to
Ooh.
Shirley Kebab House on my way home. What am I ordering?
Chicken and lamb tikka, I think, on the skewers.
On a naan.
In a naan.
In a naan, yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.